Today I'm going to tackle or discuss just Ihdina Sirat Al-Mustaqim, which is translated in the commentary by Maulana Muhammad Ali as guide us on the right path or the straight path. And I'm going to discuss the aspects of it. First thing is that Ihdina Sirat Al-Mustaqim, guide us on to the right path and the straight path. If we take it as a straight line, it is supposed to be the shortest distance between 2 points. And the points being mentioned here are the human being on one end and God on the other end. The humans could get to God through zigzagging or any loops or any way they decide, but it would come to the reason that a straight line would be the shortest course. So what we are praying for is that God give us the opportunity and guide us on how we could shorten this course to get through to you, because between God and man there is always a gap. This distance is a gap which has to be shortened through your efforts, so that in the end God and the man, or God or the human, they become one, where God could call him his friend, Awliyaullah, and he is a friend of God, and God has promised that his friends will not face any fear and will not be grieved. So to get to that state, there has to be a great effort, steadfastness on the part of the person who's trying to achieve closeness to God, who already says that he's close to you. He is close to you. The gap is there because we are not close to him. He says he's closer to you than your life vein. But in spite of him saying so, the man would say, where is God? And unfortunately they think he's up in some heavens up there. And that's why everything goes up to him. For supplications we think he's miles away in heavens, because what we see is the sky, and we think of skies and galaxies and everything, and he must be beyond that somewhere. So we have created this big distance between God and ourselves, and God doesn't say it so. God says he's here, he's with us, and this effort has to be made to realize that he is close to us. He himself says in the Quran, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, and when people ask you, Prophet Muhammad, about me, I'm close to them. He's always reassuring that he's close to us. And in another place it is said, وَإِنَّمَا كُنْتُمْ وَإِنَّ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ, I am wherever you are, you will find me close to yourself. So he constantly reminds us about the closeness, and it's us that we are not feeling the gap. And this prayer is for us to persevere and be steadfast in realizing this point, that there is no gap as far as God is concerned. The gap is created by the man himself. And that's why Hazrat Masih Maud has called Mustaqim as a word istiqamat, the steadfastness. Guide us onto the path we are in, through which we are steadfast in believing and knowing and not forgetting that you are close to us. Is this closeness which has to be shortened further from the life vein which is around here. We have to make our hearts pure enough for him to reside within our hearts, so that we can feel him within us, and he's a part of us. And he, as the Hadith says, when such a state arrives, God becomes your hands with which you touch, God becomes your feet by which you walk, God becomes your eyes with which you see, He becomes your ears by which you hear, and He becomes your tongue through which you speak. This is that perseverance that I'm talking about when I say Ihdina Sirat Al-Mustaqim. We should be asking God to give us that moment of closeness and a life of closeness. Now the straight path, according to the Prophet, is a line that he drew onto the sand and told the people, this is a straight line, this is Sirat Al-Mustaqim. And then he drew another line slightly divergent from the initial line and said, this is going astray. So even if you had a point, any nanomillimeter or what you call the smallest difference between the straight line and the one across, if it keeps going on, it will spread into kilometers of distance. So we have to keep bringing this distance closer and avoid even small deviations. Of course, we are going to deviate, in which case we'll have to come back to the right path. The example taken is that we plan our journey. It's become more convenient when the guy, what's it called, Tom or some other word for it, the guide recording keeps even telling you where the traffic light and where the camera is going to come. So you can dodge the cameras these days, but you cannot dodge God. His eyes are ever watchful. You can say this is a speed traffic, a violation may occur. Do we think of the violations as we move around in our lives? So this deviation, whenever you deviate, even if you didn't have that recorded guide or whatever you have in your cars these days.
Navigator. So satellite navigator.
Satellite navigator, the satellite is guiding you. I think you can think that God's navigation for you comes through the Holy Quran. If you kept on listening to what the message is, you will keep on the right path. But if you have strayed, for example, for a while, then there is, to stay on the path, you say the astaghfar. Astaghfar is a way of asking God, let me not get off this track. And Tawbah is when you have actually made the mistake and you want to come back to the path. So there's an Tawbah and there's an astaghfar. You keep telling God, please let me stay on this path. Keep guiding me through your satellite systems, through your message to my parietal lobe, as it is said these days, and guide me, keep me on the path. And if I go astray, then I have to say Tawbah, what's the amend for it. Now, once we have understood this concept, then we have to ask ourselves, why is it a plural sense? Ihdina Sirat Al-Mustaqim, guide us on the right path. On one hand, it represents the universality of Islam. I am praying, or you are praying, one individual, we are also including everybody else within that congregation and beyond, other Muslim brothers and brethren and sisters, and beyond. We are including all the religions, all the faiths, all the universe. Within our prayer, we are asking it for everybody. It does nowhere say, Ihdina Sirat Al-Mustaqim, guide us, brackets, the Muslims onto the right path. So it's the universality. The first prayer in the Quran is Ihdina Sirat Al-Mustaqim. This is the first prayer in the Quran. And it is so comprehensive. It's asking that everybody should be guided onto the right path, and this guidance onto the right path will create the universality and brotherhood that people are striving to achieve all their lives. And beyond the word, then you have got yourself. You have got so many faculties. You have got your eyes, hands, ears, mind, heart, feet, the things I mentioned already. But if you took that as a group of faculties granted to you by God, through which you can stay on to the straight path, the steadfastness path, and getting closer to God path, then each of these faculties has the potential to lead you astray or keep you on the path. Take, for example, the eyes. You could be looking at something very with an evil mind, or you could be protecting your eyes and doing the parda of the eyes, as Al-Nur says, lower your gaze. That could be one way. You could be with your tongue backbiting, which is likened to eating the flesh of your dead brother. It's a boring, as you can say. And you can be telling lies, and you could be creating problems for the whole society with your tongue, gossips, that will lead you astray from the straight path. But you could be using your tongue for the kind words, good words, advice, guidance, truthfulness, and then you are back onto the right path. Similarly, you can take example of the ears, hearing bad things, hearing good things only, discouraging bad gossips, everything that harms your direction towards God, and you can walk to evil, you can walk to the right things. So you can say which path are you going to take. Is your feet and your mind that makes the decision. So we have got these choices to make. That's why we say the Sirat Al-Mustaqim. And at the cellular level, you have got every cell in your body trying to perform a function, which if goes wrong becomes a disease, and we are also saying let that stay on the right path as well. So the overall, shorter the distance, happier will be the person. Now we have the concept of that there's a constant struggle between the states of the mankind. You have got the nafs-e amara, the evil spirit within us, where you don't care what's going. You are robbing, lying, stealing, killing people in mosques, shopping places, anywhere. That's the nafs-e amara. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib, Masih Maud, has said that if there was no nafs-e amara in a person, there would be no thefts, no lying, and everything would be ideal, like as innocent as a child when he's born. But then you, through stages, you get guided by your parents, your society, the company you keep, and you go into nafs-e amara to nafs-e lawwama. The lawwama is where you can analyze the faults you have made. You have actually got a friend within your souls which keeps telling you, don't do this, don't do this. Even in the extreme situation of illness, somebody dying of cirrhosis because he's been drinking all his life, even when he picks up his alcohol wine for half a second, if the person within him says don't do it, but he still wants to do it. That's the struggle between do and don't, and then you get the mutmainna. The gap that I was talking about is the greatest when you are at the amara stage, and best when you are at mutmainna, when your soul is at peace. It is at peace because you have found your God and you have become a friend with Him. Now if you have got this constant struggle, the way to shorten the gap is to follow the guidelines that come in the Holy Quran. And it begins with Alif Lam Mim. I, Allah, am the best knower, as is translated on authentic hadiths and sayings of the Prophet and his companions. I, Allah, am the best knower. So Allah has created the man, the humans, and He has guided them. He knows what is best for them. Otherwise you can question, like I was questioned at some places in Suriname and Guyana and Trinidad, why do we have 2 sajdas and not 3 sajdas? And you can keep asking questions like that, but God best knows whether 2 sajdas are suited or 3 are suited. So whatever is being demonstrated by the Prophet is what we are supposed to be following. And within us is a capacity to hide a lot of evil within and still be hypocritical and make people feel that we are great, we are spiritual, we are... So that's where there's an outward appearance which is known as Zahir and the inside appearance which is known as Batin. And every religion has talked about improvement of the within, including Islam. Even the most oldest religions, the quote is that it is more, the the inside of a cup is more important than the cup itself. So that's what we are going to strive for. Number one, to keep going towards the mutmainna, and therefore keep moving towards God, and to have our speech and our actions match one another. And it was in 1997, December the 25th, 1897 to be correct, 1897, December the 25th, that the system of jalsas was initiated by the reformer, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, and in his first ever speech in a jalsa, he could have selected any subject. He was a man that had been appointed by God. He could have selected any subject for his first jalsa, but the topic he chose was that you should have taqwa and you should have a match between what you say and how you act. And he warned in this first speech that if this match is missing, then the person who doesn't have this match will be punished just like a non-believer would be, because God doesn't care whether he has just got up one morning and said he's joined the Ahmadi Anjuman or Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. He's even done a bath on his hands. He was talking to those people who we believe must have been all great people because they recognized the reformer when he came. But he warned them that having joined my Jamaat, you will be even punished in a severer way, more than the kafirs, if you say, you can think that way, because you have joined a person who has claimed to be the Imam of this time and has come to make you into a garden where you will bear fruit of Islam. And we have to remove the weeds, and God will punish you severely if you don't do what you are saying. So I could say that one of the most important way and towards taqwa according to his speech is that you should act according to what you say, and that is you have taken a bath, and the bath says you will say the truth and you will hold the religion over the worldly needs. If you want to be called Ahmadi, you have got a greater duty than just saying I am an Ahmadi. And that brings me to the closing comments of my khutbah today, and that is that we have made life too easy for ourselves. When we read the Quran, we select the topics that say, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, those who believe, and they say, oh, they are for us. And when it comes to Ya Bani Israel, the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, the non-believers, those on whom God has His wrath, those who went astray, we tend to analyze it quickly and say, these are the Christians, those were the Jews. And the hypocrites, section 2 of Al-Baqarah starts with, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. And from amongst the people, there are those who believe in Allah and the last day, and they are not believers. They want to deceive the other people, and Allah is going to punish them, and that is said there. And we immediately cut ourselves off this and stay clear, this is for the munafiqeen. But if you think for a while, what Quran is saying, those who say we believe in Allah and the last day and still don't act on it. Because if you say I believe in Allah, there are certain things you would automatically be expected to do. You join any institution, you are expected to do certain things, or you may be thrown out of that faculty of science or wherever you have joined. And if you don't act according to the rules, but if you say I believe in Allah and then your actions are not in keeping with a person is believing in Allah but his actions are not in keeping with what he is saying, or he's believing in the last day and the day of judgment and his actions don't say so, he continues to do what he likes without following the guideline, then he is as good as the munafiqeen. Then we become the munafiqeen because we are not doing what we are professing. That's why I think the little headings that Maulana Sahib gives, this one says lip profession. And we say automatically it's the hypocrites who are doing the lip profession. What about the Muslims? Those who say, I believe in Allah. They are also giving a lip profession if we are not acting like we were believing in Allah. Or there's going to be a punishment coming or an award coming. And that's where I would say, and somebody's gone astray, oh, it must be the Christians. If somebody's had the wrath of Allah on him, that must be the Jews. Within us, we have got this potential to close this gap. Within us, we have got the potential to widen this gap. So we have gone astray. If the gap is widening, we have gone astray. If it's closing, we are on the right path. And if the path, this gap goes so big that God gets angry on us, then we are also asking our own protection. We are under your guidance. Oh God, we should not go astray and we should not make you angry in any way. So when we read the Quran next, at least I have started doing it in that sense that we must analyze. This is being said to the Bani Israel and the Kafir and Munafiq and all the people, the categories that are addressed in the Holy Quran. But we must analyze what is God saying to us through these messages in the Quran, because the Quran is for all mankind, including us. And if 1/10 of it that covers what God is talking to the Muslims, we should not confine ourselves to 1/10 of the Quran. If that was needed, God would have revealed the 3 parts of the Quran and saved the other 27 for pages of history and what are going on. We have to learn from what he said to anybody, addressed to anybody, any nation, any category of people. And today I would finish here and pray that God keeps us on the right path, the path that leads straight to him. Help us shorten the gap that exists between him and us and be steadfast on this.